Some love stories never fade. They wait, quietly, through the years, ready to remind us why they first touched our hearts. This is the story of Edward and Vivian. Returning to the screen 35 years later, the screen opens to a slow fade-in of Beverly Hills at night. Glittering lights. Luxury cars glide down the street. The faint echo of Roy Orbison's "Oh, Pretty Woman" plays softly in the background, not fully. Just a few notes, enough to spark memory. The narrator's voice, calm yet full of emotion, speaks over these images. It was 1990 when the world first met her. A woman who lived life by her own rules, who dreamed of something more, who found love in the most unexpected place, on screen. Black and white footage from the original film flickers, Julia Roberts' radiant smile as Vivian Ward. Richard Gere looking down from his limousine. He was a man of power. A man who had everything money could buy, except the one thing he never knew he needed. Clips roll, Edward and Vivian walking hand in hand on Rodeo Drive. Her red dress, his tuxedo, the fairy tale ending on the fire escape. Each shot lingers just long enough to bring back the feeling audiences remember. Together, they turned a chance encounter into a story the world would never forget. The music swells just slightly, blending nostalgia with a modern undertone. We see a montage of fans cheering at the original premiere. Headlines flashing across newspapers. Pretty Woman captures hearts and box office magic, the narrator continues. But every story has more to tell. Time changes us. Life tests us. And after 35 years, their journey is not over. Now the screen shifts to a golden sunrise over Los Angeles. A new chapter begins. The past dissolves into the present, a glimpse of Richard Gere today, older, dignified, his silver hair glowing in soft light. Then Julia Roberts, her smile unchanged, but now carrying the wisdom of years. Edward Lewis and Vivian Ward are back. Not as the people they once were, but as the people they've become. The sound of footsteps echoes. Vivian's laughter fades into the night sky. On screen, text fades in. After 35 years, a love story returns. The music swells into a hopeful, romantic melody. The narrator closes the section. This is not the end of their fairy tale. This is the next chapter. The screen opens with a slow aerial shot of modern day Beverly Hills. Drones glide above palm trees lining the streets. Expensive cars rushing past storefronts glittering with high-end fashion. The camera pans upward, catching the glow of the California sun reflecting off glass skyscrapers. The narrator's voice enters, calm yet charged with meaning. The world has changed. Time has moved forward. But some names, some faces, remain unforgettable. We shift to New York City. The camera cuts across Central Park, alive with joggers, families, and musicians. A new tone sets in, the clash between past elegance and today's fast-moving world. The soundscape grows louder, honking horns, snippets of city chatter, and faint echoes of laughter. Edward Lewis was once the man who controlled entire corporations. A leader of boardrooms, a master of negotiations. A man who could shape the future with a single signature. Today he is something else entirely. The screen darkens slightly. We see a figure standing by a window inside a luxury apartment overlooking the New York skyline. His silhouette reveals the shape of Richard Gere's Edward. He's older now, silver-haired, his reflection caught in the glass. A half-finished glass of wine rests on the table beside him. Time has softened him. But it has not silenced the weight of responsibility. The empire he built is slipping away. And for the first time in his life, Edward Lewis faces a question no contract can answer. What is his true legacy? The music swells. We cut to Vivian. She is revealed not in luxury, but in simplicity. A warm, sunlit scene. Julia Roberts' Vivian walking through a community center, surrounded by young women. She's speaking to them, laughing with them, her red hair glowing in the light. Vivian Ward once lived a life that others judged, until she found the courage to dream of something greater. Now she uses her voice to lift others, to remind them that every woman's story has value. No matter where it begins, the camera captures Vivian smiling at a teenage girl, offering encouragement. A quick shot shows her at a charity gala, speaking with passion at a podium, flashes of cameras lighting up her face. But love, even the strongest love, is tested by time, and after 35 years, Edward and Vivian must learn what it means to stand together again. We cut to a quiet moment, Vivian and Edward, seated at opposite ends of a long dinner table. Their eyes meet, but silence speaks louder than words. The tension between them feels real, lived in, matured by decades. The music lowers, soft piano keys striking one at a time. They've built a life. They've faced the years, yet now, they stand at a crossroads. Quick flashes burst across the screen. Edward watching a boardroom dissolve into chaos as younger executives challenge his authority. Vivian reading a headline that questions her influence in the charity world. A hand brushing against another hand in the dark, Edward's and Vivian's hesitant, but full of memory. The fairy tale began with chance. This chapter begins with choice. The camera pans across the busy streets of Los Angeles again. This time, Edward and Vivian walk side by side, not as strangers, not as dreamers, but as two people who have lived through time together. Their faces are marked by years, but their eyes carry the same spark audiences remember. The music swells into something triumphant, but with undertones of uncertainty. Text fades across the screen. Love doesn't fade. It changes. The narrator's voice closes the section. Almost like a whisper, in a world that never stops moving, will they move apart? Or closer than ever before? The screen fades to black. A pause. Then the faint sound of Vivian's laugh echoes once more, asterisk. The screen bursts alive with a sharp sound, the slamming of a boardroom door. Papers scatter across a polished table. A younger executive, confident and ruthless, looks straight into Edward's eyes. Your time is over. Mr. Lewis, the future doesn't need you anymore. The words echo as the music shifts, drums pulsing beneath tense strings. Edward stands still, his jaw clenched. His silence heavier than any reply. The narrator's voice cuts in, low and measured. He built an empire from nothing. Now, others are ready to tear it apart. Quick flashes, stock charts plummeting, board members whispering behind closed doors, headlines scrolling across news feeds. Lewis Enterprises faces collapse. The scene changes abruptly. Vivian standing on a stage at a charity event speaking with passion. But her voice begins to fade under the sound of mocking laughter. A critic interrupts, dismissing her efforts. She fights to inspire women who feel forgotten. But when the world questions her past, can she still lead with strength? A montage unfolds, reporters shoving microphones into her face, social media comments scrolling by with cruel words. Vivian's determined eyes struggling to hold back tears. The narrator continues. Edward and Vivian once faced the judgment of the world together. But today their challenges are greater than ever. The music rises sharply. Quick, flashing shots. Edward and Vivian arguing in their apartment, his voice raised, her face turned away in hurt. Vivian walking alone through the rainy streets of New York, her red umbrella the only splash of color. Edward sitting in his limousine again, but this time he looks smaller, defeated, as the city lights blur past his window. The fairy tale they once lived has become a test of trust, of loyalty, of love that refuses to let go. The screen fills with firelight, a gala event, chaos breaking out as protesters storm inside. Vivian is caught in the middle, Edward rushing to her side. Cameras flash wildly, freezing them in moments of fear and resilience. The empire he built is at risk. The movement she created is under attack. And together they must decide if their love can survive the storm. The music slows, almost whispering with a single violin. Vivian's voice echoes, soft but pained. Edward, I don't need your money. I need you. The camera shows Edward looking at her, his eyes filled with regret. He reaches for her hand, but she pulls away, then silence. A pause that feels endless. The narrator whispers, every love story has its trials. Every dream faces its breaking point, and sometimes even the greatest love must be fought for. The music roars back with crashing drums. A montage of high-stakes moments flashes rapidly, Edward shouting across a boardroom as he slams his hand on the table. Vivian standing defiantly on the steps of a courthouse, cameras flashing all around her. a tear rolling down Edward's cheek as he looks through old photographs of them in their younger days. Vivian, standing in the rain, whispering to herself, "I won't go back." The tension builds until it feels unbearable. Then, silence. The faint sound of Vivian's laugh drifts back, almost ghost-like. Text fades across the black screen. Every fairy tale faces a new chapter. The narrator's voice, now powerful, closes the section, and this chapter will push them further than they've ever gone before. The sound of a heartbeat thunders once, twice, then fades into the darkness. The screen stays black for a moment. The silence stretches almost too long. Then a single note of piano, slow, haunting, on screen. Edward stands alone in a dimly lit boardroom. The table is empty, chairs pushed back as if a battle has just ended. His reflection glows faintly in the polished wood surface. His face is weary, but his eyes still burn with fire. The narrator's voice returns, deeper, resonant. When everything is stripped away, when the world you built begins to fall, what remains? Suddenly, a burst of light. Vivian at a crowded press conference. Cameras flash, reporters shout questions. She steps forward to the podium, her voice shaking but strong. "I am not defined by where I came from. I am defined by who I chose to become." The crowd erupts in cheer. Others sneer, but she stands tall, unwavering, cut sharply. Edward races down a city street, his limousine stuck in traffic. For the first time in decades, he pushes past his security detail and runs into the night. The camera follows from behind, his figure small against the towering skyline. He once climbed the fire escape for her. Today, he will climb through every obstacle life has thrown between them. The music builds into a rapid heartbeat, rhythm-pounding drums, swelling strings. A rapid-fire montage begins. Edward in a heated courtroom scene, standing to defend not just his company, but his name. Vivian in a quiet moment backstage, holding a letter in her hand, her eyes wet with tears. A heated argument in their apartment. She screams, he shouts back, then silence as both collapse into sadness. Hands almost touching on a table, hesitant, trembling, then pulling away again. The narrator whispers, "Every love faces a choice. To surrender or to fight." The pace quickens. The montage accelerates. Protesters flood the streets outside Lewis Enterprises headquarters. Vivian's charity nearly shut down by scandal. Edward slamming his fist against his desk, shouting, "I won't lose her again." Vivian whispering to a friend, "Maybe some fairy tales don't last forever." The music drops out. Total silence. Then Vivian's laugh, soft, gentle, familiar. The screen shows Edward standing outside the charity center late at night. Rain pours down, drenching his suit. The doors swing open and Vivian steps out, umbrella in hand. For a moment, they just look at each other. Time stands still. The narrator returns, almost like a heartbeat in words. 35 years ago, they found each other by chance. Today, they must choose each other by love. The music swells again. Bigger than before, strings soaring, choirs humming, drums pounding like thunder. Final montage, faster, sharper, more emotional. Vivian dancing barefoot in a small room, Edward watching with a soft smile. Edward confronting the younger executives, his voice strong again. "This company doesn't exist without me. And neither do you." Vivian hugging a young girl at her foundation, whispering, "Don't let anyone tell you you're not enough." A single kiss between Edward and Vivian, passionate, desperate, a kiss that speaks of decades of love tested but unbroken. The music reaches its absolute peak, then cuts to black. Text fades slowly across the screen. Word by word, love brought them together. Time will test if it can keep them. The final title card flashes in bold. Cinematic letters. Pretty Woman 2, 2025, Richard Gere, Julia Roberts. The narrator delivers the closing line. Soft, lingering, unforgettable, because every fairy tale deserves one last chapter. The screen fades out completely. Silence, then one last sound. A single note of Roy Orbison's "Oh, Pretty Woman" plays, cut off mid-chord, leaving the audience holding their breath. On screen, the final words appear, "Coming soon."